Hey gang, so a couple weeks ago, Timbo Slice uploaded a really badass video to the Double Staff group on Facebook, all about this move right here, or at least I think this is a reasonable equivalent to what he was playing with. This is a concept that I would refer to as an S-cap, and happily it is the same terminology that Tim is using. This is something that comes out of poi. Namely, it comes out of the realization that a cap is really just two different moves that have been kind of pasted together. And at one point it was realized that the standard C cap, where you're going, say back and forth between an anti-spin and an extension / isolation like this, is only one possible option. That, moving your hand in a C is only one possible way to do it. You can also move your hand in an S, and in this case we're kind of thinking of the S as being two C's that have been joined together, yeah? So, the way to think of this is that instead of just like having that one big circle that both of the hands go around, like we're normally used to thinking of with doubles, instead to think of it as being that there's more like a grid that has a top section, a middle section, and a bottom section, right? And fortunately, this is one of those things that it's really good to have short staves for, and happily I have short staves, hooray. So if I were to start with my staff as low as it can go, it basically comes to my rib cage, right? If I bring it to my rib cage, it comes a little above my head. If I reach all the way up, okay, so I can't quite get three separate levels, but we'll get close enough for today's work, right? So as I'm starting real low, I'm going to try and make sure that that thumb end goes out an anti-spin on a straight line from that point off my ribs, right? And then I'm going to let it come back at that point straight off my ribs. And now I should have it be that the top of the pinky end of the staff is just about even with my head. And I'm going to do my best to isolate the top of that thumb end back around away from me towards the sky. I'm then going to try and anti-spin that pinky end out on a line that's even with my shoulders and let it come back so that my thumb end now should be equal with the bottom of my rib cage, or as close thereof as I can possibly get, and then isolate that pinky end back around. So the rule becomes I'm going to anti-spin the thumb, isolate the thumb, anti-spin the pinky, isolate the pinky. Anti-spin the thumb, isolate the thumb, anti-spin the pinky, isolate the pinky. When I say anti-spin the thumb, I mean that it's my thumb end that goes out. When I say isolate my thumb, I'm saying that it's my thumb end that stays away from the center point of isolation. When it's the pinky end doing anti-spin, it's the pinky end that goes out, and then the pinky end that rotates back around to the bottom, right? So this creates some potential for us to, say, bring the two staves together and have one of them performing, say, that isolation to start with, and then anti-spin, isolation, anti-spin, so the two of them are contrasting each other. So, woo, Tony. Yeah. Tim covers a lot of this in his video, but what I was most excited about was the possibility of putting together two different S-caps on different tracks, so to speak, so they kind of like even each other out. So for example, if I were going to play around in split opposites, I would start with one staff high, one staff low, pop them out anti-spin. From here, I'm going to isolate around and pop them out anti-spin, isolate around. Whoops, I screwed that up. It goes rather out to my left, isolate, out to my right, isolate, out to my left, isolate, out to my right, isolate. Ba-boom, 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 ba-boom. Yeah? Also, option that you have here is to try doing them in opposites, together time, in which case I'm talking anti-spin, come around, anti-spin, come around, ba-boom, boom. Which I kind of like, because there's this neat kind of like almost folding wing effect that happens as you're doing that. Here's the thing, these tend to work best in opposites, because if you're not working in opposites, then you're having a difficult time putting together something that's going to have that same kind of a point of symmetry, right? We could work on it in, say, split time same direction, trying to make sure that we always had a center point of, oh my God, symmetry, but I just find like it's a lot more kind of satisfying to have it work across an axis of symmetry, like so. Create kind of a more balanced picture, you know? Because a lot of the stuff that Timbo is showing in that video involves both of the staves working in kind of the same track. It should also be said, this presents an excellent opportunity to switch into something like, say, Zan's Diamond, and use that as your way of getting around. You can totally think of like one of these S-caps as being, say, like half of Zan's Diamond and then connecting the dots together as you're going through the pattern, right? So, anyways, I just thought that was a fun use of double staff time, and I hope you guys agree. Thank you for watching, and have yourselves a good one. Peace. This video was made possible thanks to the kind contributions of these folks right here. In addition, special thanks to Sean, Prisna, Kiro, as well as Andrew Hammond and Ben Reynolds. Thank you guys so much for making these videos possible. If you've enjoyed these videos or learned anything from them, please consider making a contribution at drexfactory.com/support. Help me to keep on making these videos that you love. Thanks.